Okay, good morning, everyone. Morning, Baruch. Hi, we're just getting started here. How's your fast? Baruch Hashem.
Since the 70, 80 years. Every country has its golden age. So the United States has its golden age. Everything comes up and
That's right. The nature of Teva.
I'm glad you're still with us in the shir. Still coming. The next thing you can call in. Appreciate it. Okay, so we're just on time for the story. So let's get started here. Okay. Gentlemen, we're on Daf Nun Dalet officially. 54, bottom of 53A, 53B, sorry. Second to the last line. On 53B, Nun Gimel Amud Beis. Our official daf is Nun Dalet Amud Aleph. Nice big daf. There's a lot of siyat d'shmaya to get through today. Hopefully, see what happens. The next two amudim are next three are kind of short, so we should be Hashem himself, of course, will be okay. So I have a story here. It's one of those stories we hear from multiple sources, so you have multiple versions of the story. So I will try to keep to as best I can to the story. The story I heard from Rachmiel Milstein, I also read about it a few decades ago, I think, from Rabbi Hanoch Teller. So it's an old story, but from many decades ago. But it's a good story. Try to stick to the details as best I can with the two versions that I had. Okay, there was a certain Holocaust survivor. He went through the camps. He went with his brothers to the camps. And he survived and came to Eretz Yisrael. He wasn't really sure what happened to his brothers, but he was very affected by it. He didn't talk very much after the war. And he came to Israel and he went to work on a kibbutz. One of these kibbutzim. There's do a lot of kibbutzim over there. So he worked in a kibbutzim. He worked on this. I'm not familiar with agricultural machines, but he worked in this machine. It was like a combine, one of these machines, they grind things up. There was a wood grinder or the grain hopper, I don't know, whatever it is. Something they use to grind things up. That's what he did. Made a lot of noise. Now there was a young man from America who came, this is many decades ago, he came to Israel. He wanted to, wasn't going to yeshiva, he was going just to work in Israel, and he went to work on this kibbutz. Chalutznik, they call it? Whatever they call it. Chutznik, chalutznik. Okay, so he went and he worked there. So one day he's working on this machine that grinds things up. I don't know if it's wood, grain, I don't know what it does. And didn't quite have the safety precautions we have today. And he was there working late on it, and he fell in this machine. Exactly. And it grabbed his leg. It's a little bit not so pleasant to discuss. He grabbed his leg and started pulling him in. And he screamed and screamed. And next thing, all he remembers is seeing a hand. So it was this Holocaust survivor who worked on this machine, grabbing him and seeing the numbers on his arm and yanking him out with all his might. Lost part of his leg in the process, this young man from America. But he pulled him out and he blacked out at that. He went unconscious. The last thing he remembers seeing is the numbers on this fellow's arm. He remembers those forever. Eventually, this young man from America did a little bit of soul searching, found himself a yeshiva, and became a Baal Tshuva, as was popular then, so now too. He still lost part of his leg, a cane or whatever he walked with. He learned in the yeshiva for a number of years and became a tour guide. I've even had a nickname for him. I don't know. It wasn't so nice, but anyway, he was a very successful tour guide, and he took people around. One day, a well-to-do middle-aged fellow from America comes. And he has him with him in his tour vehicle, whatever it is, and maybe he was sitting next to him or sitting in the back and reached over. This fellow was also a Holocaust survivor. He reaches over to he sees his arm for a second, and he slams on the brakes or whatever he did. the number was exactly one number above or below the number of the fellow who took him out of the machine. That number was seared into his memory very well. That's all he remembers from the whole event, but he will never forget that number. And he saw this fellow's number and he screeched and said, "How do you have that number?" He says, "It's the Holocaust." They walk around with numbers on their arm. He says, I know that number. I know the number. He says, "You're coming with me." He says, "What?" "I came here for a tour." He drives him straight to the kibbutz. He runs over. He's not sure if this Holocaust survivor is still there. There he is, the same place. Maybe they updated the machinery, hopefully. And he takes him. He grabs this fellow, this well-to-do American tourist, and he grabs him by the arm. He grabs this fellow who doesn't talk really, the kibbutz arm. He grabs their arm, places them next to each other. They look at each other's arms, and the guy goes out. Their names were. I'll make them up like Reuven and Shimon. He goes, "Reuven," so Shimon. And they embraced. They're brothers. They had no idea that the others were alive, and that's how he found out that they're both alive. They didn't tell me the rest of the story. That's enough of the story to be pretty amazing. But I don't know. It was pretty amazing how Hashem guides the world. Like, why did Hashem wait? I don't know, 30 years, 40 years, whatever, 30 years, whatever it was, to bring two brothers together. I've heard other stories about crazy things about how siblings were reunited, family reunited after Holocaust. This one's the most wild story. They reunited them together. They were united. Why Hashem had to do this, we don't know. Hashem works in very mysterious ways. Why this fellow had to unfortunately lose a leg, part of his leg, became Baal Tshuva from it, and he united two brothers together because of it. But we don't know exactly what Hashem has in store. But I think after all three gentlemen involved in the story saw, they probably had a better understanding of why Hashem does things. A little bit of a window into why. There's always an answer to the question why, but we don't always know the answer. But in any case, it's an amazing story how Hashem runs the world in such a amazing fashion. And it's if you think about it, it's really a very hopeful story because I mean these two gentlemen, think they lost each other and eventually they found each other. Baruch Hashem behind the scenes is taking care of us whether we know it or not. You can be rest assured that whatever happens, ultimately it's for our good. One day, Mirz Hashem, when Mashiach comes, we'll understand it all. Maybe before that, but hopefully very soon. Mashiach, and then we'll understand all Hashem's ways. That's what Hashem. Okay. Hope he did give him a good tap indeed. Yeah. Let's have a drink. Let's start.
That shit was the only one that numbers.
Extermination.
Okay, so let's get started. We're on Daf Nun Gimel Amud Beis on the bottom. We had a number of questions. We have a few more here regarding a father. One of the Tanai Ksuba, one of the stipulations in Ksuba is if the father passed away, then the daughter gets fed, gets mizonos up until a certain age, until she gets married, whatever. We discussed that. This discussion regarding that, but we have a number of questions that the Gemara is asking regarding that obligation. So the second line from the bottom on Nun Gimel Amud Beis 53b, right in the middle. Boy Rabbi Elazar. Rabbi Elazar asked the following question: Bash Shniya, yesh lo mazonos or ein lo mazonos? A girl who's a product of a shniyos. There's forbidden relations, arayos from the Torah that are forbidden from the Torah, and some are d'Rabbanan, only rabbinically prohibited. And if a husband and wife are prohibited on the level of d'Rabbanan, and they get married, and they have a child, does this girl, and then the father passes away, does this girl entitled to be fed, to get mazonos or not? Why not? Why not? Well, we're going to see in a second. So flip the page to Nun Daled Amud Aleph. Kivan de les leksuva les lemizone. There's a takana d'Rabbanan, a rabbinic enactment, that a woman who goes through such a marriage We'll discuss this later, much later in the Masechta, towards the end. There's a sorry, just need to fix this. There's a discussion later in the Gemara. I forgot my thingy. Discussion later in the Gemara about this, but that a woman who has has a relationship like this, marries a man who they're forbidden on the level they're rabbinically forbidden, she doesn't get a ksuva. So the first side of this question is, does she get a ksuva or not? I'm saying she doesn't get a ksuva. In that case, maybe the daughter, in the event that the father passed away, her father, maybe she doesn't get the mazonas. The mazonas is one of the Tanai ksuva, one of the stipulations of the ksuva. If there's no ksuva, maybe she doesn't get it. You may be saying that's not fair. So that's the other side of the argument. Dilma Ima of the Isur. Her mother did something wrong. So therefore, Kansura Avana, the rabbis gave her a fine that she doesn't get a ksuva. Ihi, she, this young girl, the lo of the Isur, did not do anything wrong. Yesh la mazonas. Maybe she, sorry, I skipped the line. Lo Kansura Avana. The rabbis don't give her a punishment. She does get the mazonas, does get fed or not. That's the two sides of the argument. Just give me 1 second. I forgot my here. It's here. That's the two sides of the argument. Maybe she doesn't get it because it's a function of the ksuva, and the mother doesn't get ksuva. Or maybe she does get it because her mother was the one who was at fault. She's not at fault. So she should get it, even if the mother doesn't get her part of the bargain, so to speak. Okay. Send it. All right, just plugging myself in. Okay. Oops. It's also Slack. I was able to talk. Technology is great. I love technology. I really do. Let's just get this working. Sorry. Long off how much time here. There we go. There we go. Okay. That's one question. Takeaway. We leave it as an unanswered question. Speaking of Mashiach and Eliyahu coming, when Eliyahu comes, Mir Hashem will answer this question. Okay. Tishmi Yitaris, Kesuvos. Okay. Boy Rav Papa. No, I'm sorry. Wrong one. Middle one. Fourth line from the top. Boy Rava. Bas Arusa. Yesh la mazonos or ein la mazonos. A daughter, a girl who's a product of, what's that, Arusa? A man, a husband and wife that have the first stage of marriage, and they have intercourse, they cohabit, they live together, and they have a daughter. That's at least that's forbidden midrabanan until they actually have nesuin. It's the second stage. According to most opinions, it's forbidden only derabanan. And they went ahead and did this. They had a daughter. The daughter is not a mamzeris or anything. She's a legitimate child. But the question is, yesh lo mazonos or ein lo mazonos? Does she get fed or not? Does she, and then the husband passed away, does she get entitled to mazonos or not, to being fed? Kivan de isla ksuva isla. Since she has a ksuva, there's a ksuva, we'll discuss that. She should also get the Tanai ksuva, the stipulations that if the husband passed away, her father passed away, she should get fed. Now, how does she have a ksuva? Either two options. Either they wrote a ksuva, so she has a ksuva, or there may even be there is an opinion, we'll discuss this later in the Masechta, further on. There's an opinion that says there is a requirement not to necessarily write it, but the obligation kicks in earlier. So we'll just leave it at that since there is a ksuva then, let's say it's written for that example, so therefore she should have all the stipulations, all the Tanai ksuva, including if the husband passed away, the daughter should get fed. Ein la mazonas. Maybe she doesn't get ksuvas. Kiven isla Kiven the isla ksuva isla isla odilma kiven the lo tikner abanam ksuva ad shasasu and lesla. Or perhaps even if she happens to have one, the actual obligation, as the Ritva says, doesn't really kick in all the Tanai ksuva, all the stipulations that go along with it don't actually kick in until the actual time of the Rabbanan, the rabbis enacted the ksuva, which is right before, whether it was written, whether it takes effect, but there's actually not the takana is not to have it written till that point, so perhaps the stipulations that go along with it don't kick in. So teku, we leave that as a question also. We leave that as a unanswered question. So one more question relating to this topic. Boy Rav Papa. Rav Papa asked the following question. Bas anusa. Yesh lo mazonos or ein lo mazonos? What about a girl who is anusa? We have the case of an Nusa girl who is violated, she's raped by somebody. A man is Nara, or a girl is a Nara, was a Basula, she's 12 to 12 and a half, she's a virgin, and the laws of Anusa kick in, that if she's raped, she's violated, if the father and the girl want it, he's required to marry her. That's what we learned before. So in that case, what's the status of the product of that? The daughter of these two, the person who violated this woman, this Nara, and his wife, they have a daughter, and then the husband passed away. So what does he require to give her? Is the requirement from his ksuva, that his heirs are required to provide food for her or not? So is she required to get fed from the state of her late father or not? So we say like this: Alibad Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda. According to Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, lo tibayla. There's no question. Why? Because he holds the Amar Yesh la ksuva mana. He holds even though the man violated this girl and he has to pay the 200 zuz to the father, still according to Rabbi Yossi Yehuda, there's a ksuva. He has to pay a ksuva of 100 zuz, not 200, because by the time he officially marries her, she's not a basula anymore. And granted, it's his fault, but still he only has to.
He gets a discount, does he?
Well, he still has to pay 300. Not discount, but in that sense, it does sound like chote niskar a little bit. Well, whatever. That someone sins and they get benefit from it, right? Okay. Lo tibayla. There's no question, because according to Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, there's a ksuva. There's a ksuva in the case of Anusa, a case of this Nara Marusa, this 12 to 12 and a half year old girl who was violated. And there's a ksuva, so his daughter, in the event of his death, gets fed, gets mazonos. That's no question according to Rabbi Yossi Yehuda. Kiti bailach, when we have a question about this, is a liba de rabbanan, according to the rabbanan. Because what do they hold? The Amri, they hold the rabbanan yatsa kesef knasa biksuvasa. That the knas that is paid to the father is, in a sense, it's how the ksuva is. That's what takes the place of the ksuva. Okay, so then for my, what's the case then? According to the rabbanan, does this girl, in the event of her father's death, get mazonas, get fed or not? Even the less la ksuva, since according to the rabbanan there's no ksuva, less la mazone, she doesn't get fed. There's no stipulations of the ksuva because there's no ksuva. Odilma ksuva taimamai. What's the reason for the ksuva in the first place? Kadeshal tehekala bein of lotzia. One of the reasons, not the only reason we gave. One of the reasons we gave was so that it wouldn't be light, easy in his eyes to divorce her. He has to think twice. He has this big bill coming down if he does. And here, in the case of an anusa, the case of a man who rapes a 12 and a half, a nara, sula, he cannot divorce her unless the girl wants. So therefore, he's stuck. There's no reason for him to. There's no reason for to give a ksuva. So that's the only reason why we don't have ksuva. But the tanai ksuva, the stipulations of the ksuva would be there. Just an exception that the ksuva itself. So is it that, according to the Rabbanan, that there's no ksuva, so there's no need to pay mazonos, the stipulations of the ksuva don't exist, or maybe really should be paying the ksuva, but there's an out here because we're not concerned that he's going to divorce her because he can't divorce her. So the other stipulations of the ksuva would really be enacted and be in place. So therefore, he would technically have to feed her if he passed away. We're not sure. The answer is take. We don't know. We have to leave this question until Elio Navi Zafrato comes our way.
If it was a Kohen who raped her,
A
you can't possibly marry her, right? Because she's a woman who was raped.
right? So then he gives her.
So what does he do? He just pays off the father.
He just Cohen. He could just pay off the father. Pay the fine to the father, and then he wouldn't marry her, if I remember correctly. So then there's no ksuba to talk about because they're not married. Never know. The case is only if they get married, but they can't get married, so they just give the whatever the.
Is that have a case where if, let's say, he did marry the woman that he raped, would that be chal? Does that assume be chal?
She says din of a zona, I think. And so I think it would be chal. I mean, they're not allowed to stay together, but it would be chal. So I think, is there a ksuva in that case? Is there ksuva? If it's the ksuva, if the kedushin's chal, I think you are chayiv in the ksuva to give her ksuva. It's a good question. I think so. I think there would be a ksuva in that case if he does marry her. He's not allowed to marry her. I think there is a ksuva. And then I guess the Tanakh ksuva would kick it also. I think it's a good question. I think. Not sure. Okay.
What was it about a girl who's been raped, an Nara who's been raped? Have they caught the guy or they have not caught the
They
guy?
caught the fellow and they forced him to marry her.
Unfortunately, right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then they have a daughter, either from that initial
And then
divorce or through
if they force her to marry, then she gets the silver and he has to pay her 100 mana.
well, according to Rav Yossi Bar Yehuda, yes. Yeah. According to others, there's no ksuva because the whole purpose of the ksuva is to make sure he doesn't divorce her so easily. And there's not a possibility that he can divorce her. But according to Rav Yossi Bar Yehuda, he gets the 100 mana, she gets the 100 mana ksuva. And so all the stipulations that go along with ksuva will be in place. Okay. Second to last narrow line. Ate Yaso Besi. One of the stipulations of the Ksuva, the Tanakh Ksuva, is that she can stay in his house. As we'll see, it talking about not that she alone stays in her house, her and her daughters, and also the heirs too. Even the sons as well. Sons don't get kicked out of the house. The sons can stay in the house, and their mother, assuming it's not a stepmother, or even if it is, but whatever. Let's say that they're all one big biological family. The sons stay there, the mothers stay there, the daughters stay there. They can stay in the house. It's one of and they get fed, the daughter and the mother. So last narrow line, Tani Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef learned as follows. Brisa, bebesi below bebikti. When it says the stipulation in the ksuva is that she can stay in this house, it's when a house and not with like a shack kind of thing. Exact. Bikta is like a shack kind of thing. Small. It's not, in other words, if the place is not big enough to house everybody, then the requirement for her to have her stay there doesn't apply. Sons don't have to kicked out and the mother stays. Rather, the sons tell the mother, doesn't sound so nice, but they can go back to her father's house. Whatever all the details, but aval mazone isla, even if there's not room enough for everyone in the house, and the mother, who's now a widow, has to go back to her father's house, she's still the heirs, her sons or stepsons, have to provide for her food, her mizonos. Mar Bar Avashi Amar afilu mizoni nami lesla. But Mar Bar Avashi disagrees and said if she's not staying in the house, then these two aspects are connected, they're interconnected. She's not in the house and she doesn't get fed. The less hilchosak Mar Bar Avashi. Get too much into the svara behind that, but we don't paskin like that. Even if there's not enough room, they live in a tiny shack. There's not enough room for everybody, and the woman has to go back to her father's house. The heirs are still required to feed her, provide food for her. Okay. So now the Gemara is going to discuss how long is this obligation for, well, not discuss it fully, but discuss more fully. But how long is this obligation for the heirs, the sons, to provide food for their mother or the widow, stepmother, whatever case may be? Okay. So he says this. Our second wide line. Amar Rav Nachman Amar Shmuel. Nachman said the name of Shmuel. Tavuha li nase minis paisa. If somebody requests of her to marry, in other words, she has someone who's asking her to marry her, and she wants it, she agrees, she goes along with it, she agrees to this. Ein la mizonos. She stops getting food provided for her. We'll discuss this concept further as the days go on, but or tomorrow at least. For the next couple lives, we'll discuss it. I believe. She doesn't get why, because the whole reason she gets it is out of the honor of her late husband. And once he does something this is not the final conclusion, we'll see. In a few lines, I'll see the final conclusion. But initially, we say anything that sort of shows she's not acting out of honor for her late husband, so therefore she doesn't get fed by her late husband, so to speak, from his estate anyway. So if she agrees to marry to somebody, if somebody offers her marriage and she agrees to it, that shows she's not acting, she's allowed to, 100%, but it's not showing that she's still worried about the honor of her late husband, so she doesn't get fed anymore by her late husband. She's going to get married anyway, and someone else is going to provide for her. Okay, so we say, Tavu linase nispaisa ein lamazonas. Halon nispaisa, yesh lamazonas. But she doesn't agree, go along with it, then if somebody offers it, she still gets mizonas, so she's still worried about the honor of her late husband. We're gonna explain this in more detail in the next line. Amra of Anan said, "L'dim yafarshali minei demar Shmuel." Shmuel himself explained it to me as follows. Mifarshli minei demar Shmuel Amra. Sorry, minei demar Shmuel. Amra machmas ploni bali. If she says, "I'm not going to get married because of my late husband," out of the honor of my late husband, yesh lamazonos. She still gets fed from her late husband's estate. But she's acting out of honor for her late husband, she still gets fed from her late husband's estate. If she denies, the only reason she says I'm not going to get married is because these people are inappropriate. That's the only reason. Then she doesn't get fed because she's not acting in a way out of honor for her late husband. I guess if she would say it, doesn't say it specifically, but if she said, in addition to the fact that out of my honor of her late husband, she probably would get fed. But if the only reason she doesn't accept this proposal of marriage is because she doesn't feel they're fitting. That's the only reason. Then she's not acting solely out of honor to her late husband, so she would not get fed from her late husband's estate. Samar of Chista. What about the following case? Zinsa. If she has mazana, she has intercourse with somebody else. It's not really an affair or anything. It's not really a extramarital because she's not married. Zinsa ela mazonos. She has out of marriage, a non-marital relation with somebody. Then ein la mazonas. She doesn't get mazonas. She's not acting out of honor to her late husband anymore. We'll discuss this in a second. Amrav Yosef kichla upirchsa. If she puts makeup, like blue makeup, on her eyes or whatever, upirchsa, she like braids her hair, does things that showing that she wants to get remarried. She's beautifying herself. Not that she can't beautify herself, but she's doing things in a way that clearly indicate that she's moving on to someone else. Ein la mazonos. Then she doesn't get mazonos. Again, another indication she's not.
She's which is used to making herself up. In some ways,
Right. Right.
They still make something for their own self-respect.
Right.
They
Right.
want to go around,
Disheveled. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So we'll see the conclusion's not like this. This is not an indication. In this havamina, in this initial thought, there was some sort of indication of some way. Perhaps these were things that I don't know culturally. Maybe they did this. These were exclusively to women who were on the market. Put it that way. I don't know. It's a good question.
But the previous one, if she gets proposal from a man that she clearly doesn't fancy,
Right.
then she doesn't get support, which doesn't make sense.
I think it's a good question, Ross. I think it would have to be that there's no indication that she's also doing it out of respect for her late husband. It's that she really wants to get married. This particular guy she doesn't like. So that's sort of like a indication that she's not, still concerned about the honor of her late husband. She's moving on to somebody else. We'll see that Lach is not like this. This is just an Havmina. We'll see that she has to like really, really move on to yeah. But let's continue. Because these are just Havaminas. Havaminas are important, but okay. Say Manda Amar. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines down in the 2, 4, 6 lines down in the wide lines, second to last word. Manda Amar Zinsa, someone who says if she has an affair, I might be able to call it, she has intercourse not in a marriage setting after her husband passed away, and that would make her not eligible mizonos. So certainly more so if she beautifies herself, that she doesn't get mizonos. That's more of an indication, as we'll see, that she's moving on from her late husband. See, zinsa is like something she made a mistake. Her desire got the best of her, but she's actively thinking about getting married. This is an indication, and that would stop her from getting fed from her late husband's estate. Mandam or kirchla pirchsa, those who say, no, the opinion that we said, kirchla pirchsa, that she braids her hair or does her makeup, her eyes, whatever, that stops getting mazonos getting fed. Then Eila mazonos. I'm sorry, I skipped a line. Kirchla pirchsa, aval zinsa isla. But perhaps if she had intercourse with somebody outside of marriage, that would not indicate that she's not loyal to her husband anymore, or late husband anymore, not worried about his honor. My tama yetzer ansa, that her desire got the best of her. She's in a bad place. She's a widow. We got the best of her, but she really was worried about her late husband. So perhaps then we'd say that that's not an indication, and she would still get fed. So after
She
all,
was seduced.
she was seduced, yeah, possible. Yeah, it's not such an indication. That's what we said. Yeah, she's not such an indication that she's not actively concerned about her late husband's honor. She fell into a trap, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, again, she wants to get married, so she beautifies herself to a suitor.
Right.
And again, she doesn't get support. It doesn't make sense.
Right. So we'll see in a second. We don't hold like this. I know the Havmin is difficult. Some of these Havminas are difficult.
Hold on.
The Havminas are difficult. I know. They need work. The Havminas. The less kol hani shmaitita. The halacha is not like any of these things we said. Beautifying. She has an affair with somebody, whatever the word term. She has intercourse with somebody. And not that she suitors come to her, all that stuff. It's not like this. That's not the halacha. Ella ki had amar Rav Yehuda amar Shmuel. Halacha is like what Rav Yehuda said. The name is Rabbi Shmuel. Hatovei ksuvasa bebezdin. A woman who requests makes her a demand request, whatever you say, for ksuva in the bezdin, a formal request in the bezdin for it. Ein la mizonos. That shows she's giving up on her ksuva. She wants to get her ksuva now, move on to the next one. That is the formal indication. When she's really put the ksuva behind her, she wants to just get her money, not live in her old husband's home anymore when she gets the ksuva, not get mazonas from him anymore, just get the ksuva and move on. So that is an indication. That's a clear indication. Ein la mazonas. All those other things are not. When she does such a drastic step, that shows that she wants to move on and she doesn't get mazonas anymore. Okay. Velo.
Someone from religion. She's entitled to support, stay on in the matrimonial code.
Right.
But she doesn't actually get the ketuvah. I thought she did.
Well, so we'll discuss that. It's like either or. We'll see. It's either or according to who. We'll hopefully get that to today. We'll see. It's either or. Either you can stay in the home and get fed, even for many, many years. We'll see if she stays too many years without requesting her ksuba, she can lose the ksuba. It's like 25 years. We'll discuss that. It's either or. So a wise woman would probably want to stay on. I don't know if we pass on that, right? Stay on. Usually the very right wheels today are not like that. Usually give a certain amount to the children, give it to the wife, whatever. Yeah, she's smart. She would stay in the home, eat the food from the husband's estate, and every once in a while, on X number of years, we'll talk about that. She'll say, "I haven't given up my ksuba," official proclamation, wherever it needs to be. I haven't given my ksuba. It's 25 years. It's a long time, but okay, so we'll discuss that. So it's either one or the other. You don't collect the ksuba if you're staying in the house and getting the food. If you get the ksuba, you don't get that. So read again. Hatovei, this halacha, hatovei ksuva bezdin ein la mazonos. So the Gemara asks, hello. She makes the claim like that. She doesn't get mazonos anymore. That she wants her ksuba. That's enough to make her not get her mazonos anymore. But Tanya, we learned in the Brisa, machra ksuvasa. She sells her ksuba. We spoke about that. Has a market value. Umishkana ksuba. She uses that as a collateral. She gives her ksuba to somebody who she borrows money for and gives a ksuba which has a market value as a collateral, or asasa ksuvasa aputiki al acher. If she makes her ksuba apotiki is like a tehei koi. It's a abbreviation. It means that if a woman has a piece of land that her husband designated for her ksuba, this piece of land will be to pay for your ksuba, and then she needs a loan, and she designated that as the guarantee, the collateral for her loan. This is showing, in all those, ein la mazonos. She doesn't get fed anymore because she showed that she's really, really selling her ksuba, or almost selling her ksuba, just about. Treated it as if she's selling it. She did some action. She doesn't just request it from the bezdin or demand, whatever, make a formal request from the court that she wants her ksuba. She's done an actual action to show that she's given up on the ksuba. So that, says the Brisa, is enough to make her lose her mazonas anymore. Sahani in about hani in about tovas lo. It would seem that in these cases, she does lose her ksuba. But our case, where she just comes to request, it seems that she doesn't lose her ksuba. So the Gemara says no. Hani ben bezdin ben shalom bezdin. Those are pretty drastic steps. If she's already selling her ksuba or using it as collateral, practically selling it to collateral for a loan, then that's a strong indication. So whether that's done just as a business transaction with witnesses or more formally in court, so in either case there, she loses her ksuba. But in our case, Hani in aval. So Hani bezdin ben shalom bezdin. Tovas bezdin. I'm sorry, this is wrong. Hani ben bezdin ben shalom bezdin. Tovas na bezdin in shalom bezdin lo. However, if she requests the ksuva in bezdin formally, then she does lose her ksuva. If it's not in bezdin, no, then she's not lost her ksuva. So it's not so clear you lose your ksuva. It has to be very a formal situation. It has to be that it's not the dressing herself up or any of that other stuff, or somebody asked her to get married. It has to be that she's gone to bezdin and demand in bezdin a formal declaration she wants her ksuva. And once he wants her ksuva, then she loses out on her mizonos, and so she sort of moved on from her late husband, so to speak. Okay. I lost the pile marking there. Sorry. Highlight properly. Okay, so let's continue. This very large amud. Okay, Kach Hayu Anshe Yerushalayim. It's about halfway down the wide lines. The first wide line is Yerushalayim. If you remember from the Mishnah, which was a couple of days ago, the Mishnah said that in the Ksuba we write that she gets to stay in her late husband's home and she gets fed as well from his estate. And Kol Yimei Megar al Munascha. Basically, you can stay all your days of your widowhood in my home and get fed. And in Yerushalayim and in the Galil, they used to leave it up to her. As long as she wants to stay in the home and get fed, she does until she collects her ksuba. But in Yehuda, the area of Yehuda, that section of Yehuda in Eretz Yisrael, they weren't like that. The heirs, the sons or stepsons, whatever the case may be, her stepsons, the father's biological sons, could say, no, we're giving you the ksuba. Who makes the decision? In other words, Shalayim and Galil, Shalayim and Galil, Anshe Shalayim and Galil, they used to say it's in the woman's decision. She holds on to it as long as she wants. She holds on to the right until she collects the ksuba. In Yehuda, they'd say, no, the sons make the decision. If they want to just pay her ksuba already, they can do that and be done. That's the distinction. So we're going to discuss that. Okay, Itmar. Right after Yerushalayim is the first line, the word on the line. Halfway down the wide lines, just go over to the third word. Itmar. We discussed the following discussion among the Amoraim. Rav Omar Halacha Kansha Yehuda. Rav says halacha is like Yehuda, the people of Yehuda, that the sons decide when they want to give her ksuba. Whenever they want to give her ksuba, she has to leave the house and stop being fed. By that, she has a ksuba now. V'Shmuel Amar halacha ka'anshe Galil. Seems to be that's how he hold, like Shmuel here. Halacha is ka'anshe Galil. The halacha is like the people of the Galilee, Yerushalayim also. Now that the woman can decide, as long as she wants to stay in the house, she can stay in the house. I will discuss the time limit on that in terms of ksuba, and she gets mazonas as long as she's there. So how do we hold? We said how we hold, but we'll discuss it further. Bavel, the kol parvadha. Bavel, which seems to be Mefarshim or Shash maybe, seems to say that the Bavel referring to not the whole country of Bavel, because even Nardal, we'll see, is Bavel, means the city of Bavel, or perhaps most of Bavel. Bavel, the whole Parvadha, all its surrounding cities, as Rashi says, Krachim Hasmuchim La, like suburbs or something like that, surrounding towns, that's next to the big town. Nahog Kirav, they held like Rav, which was like Dansha Yehuda, which means they held it's the son's determination. In Bavel, they held it's the son's right to give their mother or their stepmother the ksuva, and then be done, and she just leave the house and stop getting fed. That's what how in Bavel they were nahog. How they acted. Naharda, the city of Narda, they called Parvadha. Narda and all surrounding cities, Nahog Shmuel. They held like Shmuel, who held that Shmuel held like Galil Shalim that no, the woman can stay as long as she wants. Not get the ksuba, but stay as long as she wants in the house. So now we have a little story related to this incident. Ahi bas Mechuza. There was a certain daughter of Mechuza. Now she was born in a place called Mechuza, which is a city in Bavel. As Rashi says, where was the city located? It was in Bavel. Let me just double check that. Yeah, Befarvade Bavel. It was a Bavel area, which means that they know like Rav, which means that they did like Yehuda, that she would have to. That it was like this is Bas Mechuza, which means she was from a place where they were knowing that the sons give the ksuva and that's it. But the Havis Nasiva Lenarda, she married a fellow from Narda and she lived there, and so therefore we should follow the husband's customs. Or if Moshe uses that as Moshe Feinstein, that's all uses the raya to say that the wife, generally speaking, follows the husband's minhagim. So anyway, she was born in a place where Mechuza, where the custom is, as soon as a husband passed away, the sons have the right to just give her ksuva and that's it. But she married a fellow who then passed away in a place where the custom is no, the woman can stay as long as she wants. So she passed away. So Asulukah made the Rav Nachman. They came in front of Rav Nachman to judge whether the sons can then just give her ksuva and be done with it, or like their father's minhag, the place where they live, they know she can stay as long as she wants. So Rav Nachman shama lekola de bas mechuza. She had, I guess, a distinct mechuza accent. You know, like people from different places in America or England have different types of accents. So mechuza had a distinct accent. He recognized her accent. He heard that she was from mechuza. So Amr lahu, Bavel b'chol pravadha, where you're from, Bavel and all its surrounding cities, which mechuza is, no karab. No, your stepsons, your sons could just give you the ksuva, and you can't stay in the home and get fed anymore. So Amruleh Narda Nasiva. I'm married to a Nardar person, and Narda, the wife gets to stay as long as she wants and gets fed. So Amruleh, Rav Nachman said back to them, Ihachi, if that's the case, Narda b'chol parvada no krishmuel. And that's the case. You're right. If that's where they are from, we follow like Shmuel, and the widow can stay in the home as long as she wants and get fed. What's the outer limits of Narda? When does it apply? How far does it go? How far do the suburbs go? Ad hecha the sagi kaba Narda. As far as they use the kab, which is like a grain measurement, volume kind of measurement, the use of that Narda. However, the grain measurement is used of Narda, this kav, that size, I guess in Bubble they had a different one. That's where you know how far Narda goes. Okay. But anyway, it seems like we hold that the woman could stay as long as she wants. We'll discuss how long and what it affects and get fed, like Shmuel, like Shalayim, like Galil, and still get fed from her ex-husband, late husband's son. Yes, yeah. But Moshe brings that as a raya. Yes, that's she was born in one place, but she follows even after the death. She follows the husband's minhag. Very interesting.
Isn't it where they lived?
Where they lived, yes. That's also another issue. If they have a place where there's a set minhag, so yeah, that's also another strong thing. Is it?
It doesn't mention where they lived here, does it?
They lived in Narda.
They lived in
Narda. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't mention. I think the Rashi almost. Yeah.
You got the case of the house that straddled the boundary between.
Yeah.
Right. It's like like the case of the Gemara of the chicken, one side of the 2,000 amos there. Yeah. Okay. Don't ask those questions. They'll kick you out of the basement, or should we do? Yeah, I won't kick you. Okay. Itmar. Okay, we're about 2/3 ish down the wide lines. The first word in the line is Dinaharda. Okay, second word in Itmar. Almana. Case of an almana who comes now to collect her ksuva. How does it work? Do we count? We'll see that her clothing could be does her clothing that she owns, the miri, the miri says not just what she's wearing, all her wardrobe. Let's put it that way. Her clothing, it's value that's deductive from the ksuva. She keeps it, and the wardrobe. So wardrobe does that count it towards the ksuva or not? Sitmar almana who wants her ksuva now. Rav Amar Shamin Masha Aleha. We evaluate what's on her, not what she's just physically wearing, according to Miri, all the value, entire value of her wardrobe, and that gets deducted from her ksuba, because the husband will see, according to this opinion, according to Rav, he gave it to her to like wear it when he's not only is around, that his wife should be taken care of and have nice clothes. But it was a gift to her, in the sense it's obviously hers to the extent that she wear it when he's around. But once he's gone, it's really his in that sense. I don't know exactly how to conceptualize it, but it's not fully a gift. It's a gift to be used when she's around. He's around for him. So it's really his possession. In other words, it's his value, not hers. So when they do the ksuva, what she's holding on to her wardrobe is technically her late husband's. So she can keep it, but it gets deducted from the value of the ksuva. That's Rob's opinion. Shmuel Amar Ein Shamin, mashallah. Shmuel says we don't deduct. This is recorded. We have to say it nicely. Shmuel Amar Ein Shamin, mashallah. We have to. She keeps it. It's hers. It's a full 100% gift. The husband gave her a gift to wear these clothes. It's 100% hers. So we don't evaluate it as part of the ksuva. It was a gift to keep, and that's it. Some Rav Chia bar Abin. Rav Chia bar Abin says chilufa belokit. It's the exact opposite when the opinions are the exact opposite. Comes to lucky. Lucky is like it means l'kot means to gather, like a harvester. Like a person harvests during the harvest season. He hires workers to harvest for him. They live in his home or on his property, whatever the case.
A field hand.
Field hand, okay. Field hand. And during harvest season, field hand, and he lives with them, and he gets clothes, I guess, special harvesting clothes. I don't know, for to do the harvesting. So it's the exact opposite. In other words, at the end of his field hand duty, when he's done being a harvester, field hand, he has to, according to Rav, he doesn't give it back. It's a gift, or so to speak, it's part of the package. And Shmuel says, no, he has to give it back. So we'll discuss why that's important. Rav Kana Masni, the Chain Belakit. No, Rav Kana learned, no, it's the same opinions. Rav and Shmuel both hold the same thing. Whether it's Umanach Basimana, and he gives a way of remembering it. Yasma Varmalsa. Yasma, in this case, is not a yasa. Rashi means a lucky, it's a field hand, a field worker. And then Almana, Shalachupuk. Have to send it and go give it back. It's not their possessions. In other words, Rav, he's quoting what Rav says and holds. Rav holds in both cases that it's not a permanent gift. Shmuel holds it's a permanent gift. In our case, more importantly, the almana. It's not a permanent gift according to Shmuel. According to Rav, Shmuel says it is a permanent gift, and Rav says it's not a permanent gift. So, what the conclusion here we should know is that according to machlokas, Rav says no. It's only we evaluate what's her wardrobe because it's technically her late husband's, and Shmuel says no, it's a permanent gift. Okay. Let's keep going. Okay, so Amar.
There was saying that the custom was when you had a worker who gave him clothes.
This particular type of worker, at least, but Lockheed, this type of worker, I don't think it was always the case. There are many different types of workers. There was like an Arius, like sharecroppers, and you have others who would give a flat percentage of what they make, a flat set of money, or there's all sorts of arrangements, different type of workers. I don't think they're all. This is Lockheed. This is a particular type of person. I don't know.
Because we had a situation. Well, some places, different workplaces, we have a room. You're a police officer, but
Right.
you're given a uniform, work in the bank, to wear whatever you fancy. So we have.
Yeah, bank tie. Yeah.
This is read the note on it. Read the note. It says
What number?
number 37.
Yeah.
This is not an ordinary work hired hand, but he receives a full wage for his work rather than he resides in the employer's home and works without a wage.
Oh, he's a butler.
Huh?
He's a butler.
Yeah.
Where I'm from, we don't have butlers. Where I'm from.
That's right.
Not an ordinary guy.
It's Lockheed. Okay. Okay. Let's continue. Let's see if we can make a little bit more progress here. This very large Amud.
Says his translation, nothing to do with field.
Um, Okay. Amarav Nachman. The last word in the line is Amar. or the next line, Rav Nachman, it's the first word in the line. It's about a third, 2/3 way down the wide lines. The first word is Rav Nachman. Right before that is Amar Rav Nachman. Alpha Gab de Tanan b'Masnisen. Even when we learned in the Mishnah, which we'll mention just now, Kavase de Shmuel, we learned the Mishnah specifically like Shmuel. Halacha Kavase de Rav. The halacha is like Rav. It doesn't seem to be like that. Titnan, as we learned in the following Mishnah, Hamachdish nechasav. Echad hamachdish nechasav. Echad hamarich esatzmo. A person who sanctifies, who gives his possessions to his possessions to the Beis Hamikdash. Echad hamarich esatzmo. A person who does erechin. He says, my value to the Beis Hamikdash, for example, and whatever his value is depends on his age and his gender. So now the Gabbai from the Beis Hamikdash wants to come collect. It's to collect up what he committed to. So this Gabbai, this Gizbar, if you want to call him that, Ein lo ksus ish. What does he have right to collect from? What he is not to collect. So Ein lo ksus ishto, biksus ishto. He doesn't have a right to collect this fellow's wife's clothing. Lo biksus banav, and not his children's clothing. That sounds very much like this Mishnah. Sounds like a wife's clothing is a permanent gift. That's why Beis Hamikdash can collect from it. It's not the husband's anymore. It belongs to the wife and the children. Continues the Mishnah. V'lo b'tzav ashetzav lishman. Neither, not clothing, even that he just died, T-Y-E, died yet, but that they haven't children or the wife hasn't worn yet. Even that doesn't belong to the husband anymore. V'lo b'sandalim chadashim shelachan lishman. Neither for shoes, sandals, that sandalim, footwear that he bought but didn't give them yet. Even that does not his and belongs to his children, not to him, and he can't give those to the Gizbar, the treasurer, if you want to call it, of the Beis Hamikdash, can't come collect from those. That sounds a lot like Shmuel. That doesn't belong to him. Once the stuff you give to your wife, to your children, are a permanent gift. Samarle Rava Rav Nachman. So Rava said to Rav Nachman, Chima Acher Ditnan Mas Nisan Kavasei de Shmuel. Well, if we learn the Mishnah that says specifically like Shmuel, Amai Hilchasa Kavasei de Rav. So why is halacha like Rav? Good question. So Amarle Lichaora Kishmuel Rahita. It would seem at first glance, Lichaora, the Aruch brings down here, that means Lichaora, like at first light, at your first glance, or as the Tosas Rid says here somewhere, he says like Lichaura with an ayin, like if you do a poor job, it means ugly. If you do like a bad job, didn't do a good, beautiful job of analyzing this, you would say such a. At first glance, you would say Kishmuel, right? The woman gets to keep her clothes. The Beis Hamikdash doesn't come collect, the treasurer doesn't come collect from the shirt off her back. It's hers, it's a permanent gift. However, when you go look at it in a more detailed fashion, you'll see really the halacha is like Rav. My time, and what's the reason? When the husband, like in our case, we talked about he donated to the Beis Hamikdash, and the husband's still around, he's still alive, as opposed to the case of the widow. He gave it to her to wear it in front of him. This is my gift to you that you wear as my wife, here when I'm not here, whatever. And in my lifetime, it's yours. It's a gift, but not a full gift. And that, because in our case, he's alive. That's why you can't collect it, because it's a gift to her, a real gift, but as long as he's alive. Lamekam kameh. My time aknele adaita lamekam kameh. Adaita lamishkol lamefach lo aknele. But to give it as a full, permanent, 100% gift that she, even after he passed away, it's hers, that's not the case. So this Mishnah is not a riot to our case of the Almana. It's true when someone donates to the Beis Hamikdash and the husband's still alive, that the Beis Hamikdash can't collect from it. It's a gift to her as long as he's around, that she's wearing it, using it in his lifetime, that she should be respected and look nice. But once he passed away, in the case of Almana, no, the halacha would be seemingly like Rav, even though it seems to be the halacha is not like that. But it seems, at least the Gemara's conclusion is that the halacha is like Rav, that no, the clothing is a permanent, is a non-permanent gift. Doesn't see. So let me just look at that for a second. Those are two separate halachas. Halacha kanche galil, Rav. Not clear. Okay, I can't answer that question.
It doesn't make sense, because if you give a gift to somebody, it's theirs. A gift, you don't give a gift to say to a wife, if you leave me, I want it back. you know,
Right.
you give buyer a gift, it's hers, full stop. So
Sure.
how can their luck go with rough to say it's, if she leaves, I want my dress back?
Yeah.
Why you look trying?
What?
Why?
Because it's not her, it's not his, it's hers, it's a gift. Once you give it a
Maybe
gift,
it's conditional gift.
no, because it doesn't say the conditional gift, it says a gift.
Right, it's not,
There's
yeah,
a certain expectation, no?
No,
Yeah.
no.
If a man gives a woman an engagement ring,
Sorry?
and if a woman gives them an engagement ring, and then they break off the engagement,
Yeah,
right? Does the woman have the right to keep it?
yes,
No,
I think,
yes.
he gave it to her on the condition that they'll get married. And if they don't get married, why should she keep the ring,
That the circumstances are such.
Right.
See, you gotta look at the circumstances, so here.
right? There's a condition, there's a certain unspoken condition.
The man gives it.
A ring is